What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video from Exotic Astrology. Great to see you back. So today we will discuss about the yes, everybody is silent today because we are going to discuss about that planet which makes everybody silent. He's the yogi. He is the most feared planet amongst all, the deadliest. To be perceived as the most fearful, the one who gives tears to everybody, the one who takes everybody for a ride. The terrorizer of all, one whose shadow also confuses the sun. Yes. The best friend of Venus and Mercury, and the worst enemy of the Sun, the Moon, and Mars. Yes, it is none other than Saturn. So, why is Saturn feared in astrology so much? Well, there's nothing to fear. But everybody fears Saturn. Okay, so we are continuing with the discussion on the planets, and we have already discussed about the houses and the zodiac signs. If you have not watched it, then please go back earlier and watch the other videos. Okay, I'm uploading the videos serially, sequentially in order so that any person who is interested to learn can learn from the beginning, okay, from scratch, from no knowledge, like I was once upon a time. Okay, and before beginning, as I always say, God is there with you all the time. Just look to Him and He will definitely save you from Saturn. I've changed my statement today. So, what is Saturn? Well, Saturn is known as the outer planet, which means it is the last planet in the solar system. Okay, as per Vedic astrology, there may be other planets also, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, but they are not much discussed in detail. Okay, in the Vedic context, because there can be so many reasons. Maybe one of them is that we already have 9 planets, including Rahu, Ketu, and decoding the sutras related to these planets are itself an act of lifetime. Yes, so Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, maybe it is left for research, and there are some shlokas which point to them, but as of now, after Jupiter, Saturn comes. Okay, Saturn is the last, the outer planet. Okay, it is at the highest realm. Okay, it is farthest from the sun, and that is why it is the darkest planet. Okay, well, what does Saturn represent? Saturn rules 2 zodiac signs. Okay, if you want to know what a planet represents, just see 2 things. One, you have to see which zodiac signs does it rule in the original zodiac belt. Okay, and you have to see which houses does it signify. Okay, then you will come to know what Saturn is, or what Venus is, or what Jupiter is. For example, what does sun signify? Sun signifies light, wisdom, self-confidence, self-worth, self-belief. Yes, it signifies the government, the authority, the father. Why? Because sun is the significator of the first house and the ninth house, which deals with all these significations. Also, it rules the sign of Leo, which is the sign of king, kingdom, authority, rulership, and it is also the significator of the 10th house of work, name, fame, status, position. That is why it represents all this. Now, if you have seen my earlier video on Karakas, which means significators, you would have understood by now what I am saying. Okay, so Saturn is the significator of the 6th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house. Okay, and all these three are apparently known as difficult houses or dusthana houses. Okay, dusthana houses means malefic houses, that houses which give you trouble, which create obstruction, sudden ups and downs, losses, hospitalization, lawsuits, scandals, which leads to a person's downfall. Okay, also tears and difficulties, pain, sorrow, misery, poverty, all the difficulties in this life is seen through these three houses. Okay, they are ultimately responsible for all the difficulties that we have to face in this world, either it is mental, social, physical, job related, relationship related, or related to anything in this world. Okay, so along with that, I said what you have to see. You have to see which are the zodiac signs the planet rule. Okay, which are the zodiac signs that the planet rules? Saturn rules two zodiac signs. Okay, it rules the sign of Capricorn and Aquarius. And if you do not know what is Capricorn and Aquarius, please go back earlier and watch the video on Capricorn and Aquarius. Without understanding Capricorn and Aquarius, you will never understand what is Saturn. Okay, so now what does Capricorn represent? Capricorn represents work, authority, discipline, okay, work ethics, commitment, our duty, our sense of responsibility, our ability to go forward in life irrespective of our likes and dislikes. Yes, this is not the sign of Cancer, it's the sign of home, nourishment, and happiness, and just go and chill out there. No, this is the sign of Saturn. Okay, Saturn is the outermost planet. It is a very dark planet because the sun's light, the light of the sun reaches or barely reaches Saturn. Okay, that is why it represents darkness. Okay, what happens when a person is in darkness? He's unhappy, he's miserable, he's sad. Okay, that is what happens when Saturn affects us in a negative way, depending on how Saturn is placed in our chart. Okay, now what does Saturn represent in the sign of Capricorn? Capricorn is one of the signs, but it is not his favorite sign. Which is his favorite sign? Favorite sign is the Mool Trikon sign. Okay, Mool Trikon sign is the sign of Aquarius. And how is Aquarius different from Capricorn? Well, Aquarius represents, see, Capricorn represents the labor class. It represents working. Okay, not only the labor class, it represents work. Okay, consistent work for long time and duty, commitment, and work. But second house from Capricorn is this house of Aquarius. Okay, because 11th house is second from the 10th house. And what is second house? Second house is the gain of anything. Any house which is second from the other house represents the gain of that house. Okay, for example, what is the 11th house? 11th house is the house of gains, of money, okay, of connections, of large organizations, social networking, network circles, etc., which you gain from the 10th house. The gain of the 10th house, second from the 10th, is seen from the 11th house. And 11th house is perhaps the most important house in Kali Yuga today. Okay, what is Kali Yuga we will discuss later. Okay, so now here we have to understand first Capricorn, and then we have to understand what is Aquarius. Okay, now Aquarius people are those people who have worked sufficiently, okay, and they have quite a bit of money and resources, and then they are thinking to change the society. Okay, it represents the large management groups, the managers, the leaders of the society. Okay, 10th house is also leaders, but 11th house is more of the leadership, what they do, okay, as leaders. Now that means Saturn also is a humanitarian. Okay, it also wants to do for the society, because Saturn also represents the poor, the poverty stricken class. Okay, it represents the people who are deprived, okay, who have been denied justice, okay, and who are fighting for their rights. It represents the people who are suffering from poverty, who do not have money to eat, or money to buy food to eat, and they do not have the basic necessities of life like sleeping. Okay, what to speak of luxuries like Venus, like cars and bungalows. Saturn also represents old age. Okay, why does it represent old age? Because old age is also signified by darkness. When you have lost your intelligence, you cannot walk, you're miserable, your body is paining, okay, your friends have died, your husband has died, maybe your wife has also died, or maybe your sons have also left you, as it is seen these days in old age homes, okay. And then maybe nobody is there with you in your old age, okay, unless you are spiritually very elevated, then everybody will want to be with you in your old age also. But if you are not, well, then you will not have a very good time in the old age. Yes, that's what is seen, that people throw their parents to the old age homes, and then they don't want to take their responsibility because it hinders their materialistic enjoyment in life. Yes. Now, Saturn represents the old people, okay, the senior citizens, okay, and that is why Saturn is that mature old man who is ready with a lot of lessons, okay. It is wanting to teach you lessons in life. That means whenever the time period of Saturn runs in the person's horoscope, which is known as Dasha in Vedic astrology, about which we will discuss later, these things become prominent in life, okay. We will have to be very hardworking when the time of Saturn comes, otherwise it is not going to happen, okay. We have to be disciplined, we have to be committed, we have to be structured, organization, planning, all this is seen by Saturn, okay. Organizational structure, division of equal labor, who will do what, okay, all this is represented by Saturn, okay. And Saturn now as the significator of the sixth house, it represents diseases, okay, curable diseases, sixth house, and eighth house is chronic diseases which cannot be cured, okay. So diseases are primarily signified by Saturn, okay. Any kind of disease. Why diseases are signified by Saturn? Because disease gives you pain. Yes, and pain is the signification of Saturn, okay. So when you get pain, what happens? Suppose you have been drinking alcohol from so many months or maybe years, and by this, what have you done? You have spoiled your liver, or you have spoiled your heart or lungs or whichever organ. Anyways, it doesn't matter which organ is spoiled, because eventually everything is going to spoil if you keep drinking alcohol for the sake. But I'm saying, suppose you have spoiled your liver by drinking alcohol, okay, then what will happen? When the time period of Saturn comes in your chart, okay, it will give you pain in your liver, and then you will be forced to go to the doctor, because it is also the significator of the eighth house of surgery. Eighth house is surgery, okay. And then what happens? You go, and the doctor tells you, my dear sir, you have very less time to live. Either you leave alcohol completely, or you have to leave this planet, okay, you have to leave this body. Then what you do? You become very conscious, okay. You think, oh, I have wasted my life. You go into sorrow, you cry, you go into pain, you go into misery, you go into tears and oceans and rivers of anxiety. What will happen to me now? Will I be able to live, or will I not? Okay. Now you tell me, Saturn is doing good or is he doing bad? He's doing perfectly well, because if he would have not warned you, you would have directly died one day. Yes, but now he has given you the warning. Saturn is the judge. That is why the judges and the lawyers, they will wear black. Have you seen them wearing black? Yes, because black is represented by Saturn. Okay. Saturn represents also the law, that thing which has to be followed. Orthodox teachings like the Ayurveda, the scriptures is also seen from Saturn. Okay, scriptures, the knowledge is more of Jupiter, but because it is ancient, anything ancient, okay, ancient idols, ancient drawings, ancient paintings, ancient songs, old things, old people is Saturn, okay. Saturn represents all these things. That is why they have so much value and they have so much wisdom, because they have a lot of experience, and Saturn is the significator of experience, reality, okay, that which is in the ground, okay. That is why during the time when Saturn strikes, people come into face with the reality, okay. If you were in the clouds Suppose Saturn is linked with Venus, okay, it is aspecting Venus or it is sitting with Venus. We will see what is aspecting and conjunction means, sitting together. What does it mean later? Conjunction basically means two planets are sitting together in one house, and aspect means a planet is 7 houses apart from the other house depending on the planet. Okay, so suppose Saturn is sitting in the first house and Venus is also sitting in the first house. Okay, or Saturn is sitting in the first house and Venus is sitting in the seventh house. They are aspecting each other. Then what happens? You are forced to be practical. You are forced to be humble, because humility is also signified by Saturn. Okay, you are forced to be humble. You are forced to be down to earth, practical, very realistic. Okay, in terms of relationships, Venus is relationships. Okay, partnership, marriage, love, romance, spouse, husband, wife, all this is signified by Venus, because now Saturn is linked with Venus. Saturn is telling Venus, look my dear, you cannot be the way you are. You cannot always think that this honeymoon phase which you are in, okay, from last 3 months will last forever. That cannot happen. Very soon the reality creeps in, and when your hormones subside, you will realize that the other person is also just another person like anybody else. Okay, and then you will be forced to come out from your honeymoon phase. You will see the person as he is or as she is. Okay, you will not be singing songs anymore. Maybe you might sing during the Valentine's Day once, but not every time, definitely, unless the person is overly romantic. Okay, so why this is? Because Saturn will force you to be practical. Okay, now who are the people who are practical in love and romance? Either who have had many breaks in their relationships. Yes, suppose a person has had 10 had 10 relationship breaks. Okay, he then, well, he would say, anyways, 10 of them have failed. Even if the 11th one fails or succeeds, how does it matter? So he will not be in clouds this time. When he chooses somebody, he will be very cautious not to choose a wrong person, or he will be very cautious in maintaining the relationship, because he knows that it has never worked, so probably this time also it may not work. It can work, definitely. There's no reason that if 10 relationships have not worked, the 11th cannot work out. But I'm just giving an example here. Or sometimes what happens if Saturn Venus are linked? One has many responsibilities in life. He may have to arrange for education of his younger brother or his younger sisters, as it is seen in India in most of the cases, because of which he might have a delay in his marriage, or he might be single for a long time. Okay, because Saturn is the significator of delays, disappointments. Now, why does Saturn signify delay and disappointment? Because it shows our karma, because it is the karma adhipati. Adhipati means authority. It is the authority of our karmas, our deeds, our actions. Okay, how much we will get in this life is determined by the position of the planet Saturn. Okay, Jupiter also, but primarily Saturn, and Saturn is the judge. So Saturn will decide who will sit where. Okay, Saturn is the ultimate authority actually. Now, what if Saturn is linked with Sun? Okay, then this is known as Chatra Bandhu Yoga in astrology. Okay, Saturn and Sun together or aspecting each other. Why it is called Chatra Bandhu? Because it shows bondage. Because Sun is the king and Saturn is the labor. Okay, so when Sun and Saturn are together, the person can suffer from doubts about himself, because Sun is the self, the body, himself, right? And Saturn is darkness. And there's a shloka which says that Saturn's shadow is so powerful that it can put darkness over the light of the sun also. Now, but this is contradictory, because darkness can never impede the flow of light. Yes, but it is said in a sense to understand the power of Saturn. Okay, now Saturn is originally the son of the sun, okay, which we see in the sky daily. He is Surya Putra actually. Shani Dev. Surya Putra is Surya is the sun and Putra is the sun. It's children, okay, son of sun. I hope you're not confused by this terminology, son of sun, okay. And that is why Yamaraj, the god of death, is his brother, okay, because Yamaraj is also the son of sun god, okay. So Surya Putra Shani, Surya Putra Yam, okay, and he is originally the significator of our karmas, and his leg is spoiled, he limps and walks, okay. So what does it mean for us? It means that wherever Saturn is placed, there that house can have these traits of Saturn. We might have to take severe responsibility related to that house. For example, if Saturn is in the second house, he might have to take serious responsibility of the family, okay. Basically, Saturn represents all those things which we keep doing without liking much. Okay, that is why Saturn is the significator of sorrow, because sorrow means what? You have to do something which you do not like, okay, which you hate, okay. That is why Saturn also represents those things which we like to keep away from us, because it is the last planet, okay, it is very dark. So what does it mean? It means that there are certain things which we keep away from ourselves. What are those? For examples, we do not like to go to the toilet. Yes, of course, when we want, when we have to go, then when we need to go, we have to go there. That is a different concept of when to go and when not to go to the toilet. But Saturn represents the drainage system, the sweepers, okay, the cleaning people, okay. The servants in homes are also represented by Saturn, okay, the poverty stricken people, and nobody likes them very much because nobody wants to give them money, of course. And Saturn also represents the masses, okay, because masses are generally poor and most of them are in poverty, most of the people in this world, okay. Only a very few are rich or millionaires or billionaires. Most of them are in poverty in this world, okay, which is a very unfortunate situation. It also represents the beggars, the people who have only their basic necessities, or maybe even they don't have that much also. And Saturn, when linked with Mercury, is very good because it gives lot of logical abilities, because Mercury is logic and Saturn is planning, so you cannot defeat a person who has Saturn and Mercury linked. Saturn, when linked with Jupiter, can also do good. Well, depending on the house and the sign, the person can be very fixed with his ideals, very committed towards whatever he believes in life, because Jupiter is the belief system and Saturn is putting things into practicality, into work, okay. And when Saturn is linked with Moon, the person can, this is known as wish yoga. Wish means poison, because Moon is the ability to be happy, okay. And when Saturn is linked with Moon somehow, then the person can have difficulty feeling happy, okay, because Saturn is denial. Saturn shows the denials in life, okay. So the person can have difficulty feeling happy, but this is a fabulous yoga for spiritual pursuits. Saturn and Moon is very prominent in the charts of great spiritual gurus, okay, great spiritual personalities who have been pursuing higher goals. Why is it prominent in the chart of spiritual personalities? Because Saturn and Moon basically shows that the person can never find happiness from materialistic objects, because Moon is a materialistic planet, okay. The mind always wants to delight in sensual pleasure, in eating good food. That is why Moon gets exalted in the sign of Taurus, which is the sign of eating and family delighting. So whenever Saturn is with Moon, it is to be understood that whatever things the mind likes, the person will not be able to enjoy. So if you cannot be happy materially, where will you go? You will go to God. Yes, that is the ultimate place to go. That is why Saturn is also the yogi, okay. Saturn is the great spiritualist, and it is a great disciplinarian, because in spirituality you need tremendous discipline. It is the most difficult thing to do in this world today. It is very easy to marry 10 times. It is very easy to become a businessman. It is not very difficult even to become a millionaire. Okay, even it's easy to become a sportsman or a cook or an engineer or a computer scientist or a data scientist or a business analyst or a journalist or a writer. Okay, or to become a YouTuber. Anything is very easy to become in this world, but be spiritually committed to something is the most difficult thing, because there are so many obstructions and allurements in this world which will deviate you, your family, your friends, your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your sons, your daughters, and all the people that you know around. They are enjoying life on a mundane platform, and when you see them, if you are not strong in your spiritual practice, you will feel like going to them again. Okay, so that means discipline is required in spirituality in its most, uh, in its highest form. The highest form of discipline is required in spirituality to follow your commitments, to maintain your principles. Okay, that is why Saturn is very important for spirituality. Saturn and Moon is very good for spiritual pursuits. Okay, and Saturn is the yogi. Yogi meditates. Okay, and when Moon is with Saturn, the person can do very good meditation. He can go very deep, very down, very intense meditation. He can do for a long time. Okay, because the person feels that there is nothing happy in this world on a mundane sense. Okay, so then where will he go? He will go to God definitely, and he should go there. So this is fabulous for spirituality. Whenever I see Saturn and Moon linked, I get a smile in my face in anybody's chart, because I know then this person can seriously follow spirituality. Okay, and Saturn represents, as I said, our discipline, our commitment. Okay, because it's the sign of Capricorn, and Aquarius is also the sign of charity. Okay, so giving back to those who gave you is also represented by Saturn. So that is why in Saturdays, which is the day of Saturn, okay, in Shanivara, it is said we should do some donations, some charity to the poor or to the temple of Shani, or we should go and pour water on or milk unto Shivlinga. Okay, because Saturn is a worshipper of Shiva. Okay, so when we worship Lord Shiva, Saturn is automatically pleased because we are going to his worshipper directly. Okay, and if you want to know, let me give you a secret. How is Saturn placed in your chart? Do not see your horoscope. You don't need to see your horoscope. Okay, just look at your life. How much discipline do you have? How much commitment do you have? How much ability do you have to go through life without stopping, even if there are difficulties? How much endurance do you have to difficulties? Okay, how much power do you have to digest sorrow? This is also seen by Saturn. If you collapse and crumble when small difficulties come, well, that means you have to improve Saturn. Okay, how do you improve Saturn? By being more responsible, by being more work focused, by being practical, by being down to earth. Humility is must during the time of Saturn. One should also fast during Saturdays if Saturn is spoiled in his chart. Okay, spoiled in his chart, I mean if he lacks the traits of Saturn. Okay, and he should do some donation to the poor. Okay, and one should honor his or her servants, the labor class. Suppose you have a driver for your car, you should not insult him, you should deal properly with him. Okay, great personalities like Barack Obama, the ex-president of the United States, is always very much respectful to the cleaners and the janitors and the cooks of the White House. That is why you see Saturn is very strong in his chart. He's a very determined person. Saturn is also the significator of determination. Okay, because if you do not have determination, you cannot continue things for long. Okay, you will leave it after some time. and it is having an exaltation sign like every other planet, means that it gets extremely powerful in one sign, which is the sign for Saturn's exaltation. Yes, it is the seventh sign of the zodiac belt, Libra. So it is owning Capricorn and Aquarius, and it gets exalted in Libra, which means it is at its happiest when it is in Libra. Why? Because Libra is the sign of balance, justice, doing things for others, sociality, social service. Okay, and that is why Saturn gets exalted there, because Libra is the sign where Saturn can express itself fully. Okay, all of its natural traits come up to the highest when it is in Libra. So whenever Saturn is exalted in Libra in somebody's chart, you can understand that he is likely to have Saturn traits like discipline, responsibility, commitment, okay, structure, organization, planning. All these things are likely to be there in his life. Okay, unless Saturn is very badly spoiled by Rahu, Ketu, or Mars, or it is aspected by Sun. Okay, or in various other ways, Saturn can be in a difficult sign. Okay, and that is my understanding of Saturn. And there are so many things Saturn represents. Ultimately, it represents your karma. Okay, that is why the divisional chart in Vedic astrology, which shows your career, which is the Dasamsa chart, we will discuss about divisional charts later. The Samsa chart shows your actions in this life, primarily which manifest through your career. Okay, so in the Samsa, Saturn is the Atmakaraka, means the significator of the Dasamsa chart. Okay, so for Dasamsa, Saturn is the most important planet to be seen. Okay, that means whenever you want to see, suppose you are a manager, okay, and you have to recruit 10 people and you get 100 horoscopes. Instead of resumes, if you have horoscopes, how will you shortlist them? Yes, well, it's very easy. Check how Saturn is placed in all of these people's charts. To the degree Saturn is well placed, to that degree he will work. Okay, and the trait of Saturn is he will always finish the job. Okay, he will never leave anything unfinished, incomplete. Okay, he will finish everything. He will take up a task and he will work consistently throughout long term, and he will finish it. Okay, and generally life is like that. Because Lord Krishna says in the Gita, which is a holy book of the Hindus in the Vedic tradition, that Dukhalayam Ashashvatam, that this world is a place of suffering and misery. That means this world is basically Saturn. Okay, whatever sins you have done in the past, whatever wrongdoings that you have done, okay, all the karma is stored in Saturn. That is why when Saturn is linked with Venus, people do not get married at times. For example, the current Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he has the conjunction of Saturn and Venus together in the sign of Leo in the 10th house. Okay, so when Saturn sits with Venus, it is seen at times that it denies a person of wife, marriage, marital happiness, marital bliss. And even if he marries, he is not very happy. He's just doing the things of the responsibilities of a husband or wife just as a sake of formality, just because it is to be done. The sweetness in the relationship goes away. Okay, because Saturn shows the negative karma which we have. Okay, and because of the sins that we have done, it punishes us. And the good thing, the best part about Saturn is that it will always warn us. I'll give you one secret how it warns. If you have a problem in your leg, okay, if you are limping or you are having an accident in your leg, then you understand that Saturn is trying to show you some signals that, my dear sir, you are doing something wrong, please stop it. Okay, because Saturn limps. Okay, by as per the story of the Vedas, it limps and walks. Okay, it cannot walk properly, it has to limp and walk. And as I said, black is signified by Saturn. And I don't know if I have to say anything about Saturn. Everything I have said. It is the significator of the 6th house, 8th house, and the 12th house. 12th house also of hospitals. Okay, of death. Eighth house is death, accidents, losses also are represented by Saturn. And meditation is also represented by Saturn, because you need to go very deep inside unto yourself, okay? Otherwise you cannot meditate, otherwise your mind will just go here there. And Saturn and Mars are oppositions, okay? So when Saturn and Mars are linked, there can be tremendous struggle in that area. Wherever Saturn and Mars is there, it is known as Sangharsha Yoga, which means yoga for hard work, okay? The person is very hard working actually. And Saturn also represents those politicians who have come from poverty, okay, by the mass support of the lead of the people of the motherland, the homeland, okay. And Saturn being a malefic, it also separates you from the motherland. So if Saturn is linked with the fourth house or with the second house, it can show that the person does not stay in his homeland, because whenever you are away from the homeland, you are eating food which you do not like, okay, you are in another country, you are in another place, you don't have your family, you don't have your friends, okay. So the duty of a malefic is to give you the negative karma, okay. So ultimately, what is the conclusion of Saturn? Saturn is a very beautiful planet if we see it in that way, okay, because it shows our weaknesses, it shows our shortcomings, and unless we know our weaknesses and shortcomings, how will you work on that, okay. That is why there is a very famous transit of Saturn in Vedic astrology. It is known as Sade Sati, which is called 7.5 year period of Saturn. Okay, whenever Saturn is transiting in the 12th house from your moon and above your moon, and then again in the second house from your moon. Okay, we will see what Sade Sati is later. But Saturn transits one sign for 2.5 years. So three houses: 12th house from moon, then directly over moon, then second house from moon. 3 into 2.5 is 7.5 years, roughly 7.5 to 8 years. So those 8 years are called difficult periods, okay, and they can come up to 3 times in a person's lifetime, because the 2 times when it comes, the person will complete the cycle of 60 years. If the Sadesati has come when he was a child, then the next Sadesati will be when he's in his 40s, and then the next maybe in his 70s. So he might have to stay for 3 Sadesatis that time, okay. So basically, what happens when Saraswati comes? Saturn is transiting over your moon, original moon. Suppose today Saturn in 17th June 2017, where is Saturn today? Saturn is transiting in the sign of Sagittarius. So if anybody has his moon placed in the sign of Capricorn, Sagittarius, or Scorpio, his Sadesati 7.5 year period is going on. So that means his mental side is being tormented by Saturn, okay. Why it is happening? Because he has to go through a lot of difficulties, and he will experience so many things, especially related to family, friends, and his close, near and dear ones, okay, because he will see that people have left him, which is extremely painful, okay. When people leave us, people don't value us, okay. So the karma related to our mental side, okay, our mental sorrows, our mental suffering is there very prominently during Sarasati, depending on the placement of Saturn. There are different points to be considered depending on the position of moon. If moon is placed in a difficult sign, then the Sarasati is more dangerous. If moon is well placed in the sign of Taurus, then the Sarasati is not that bad. And if moon is placed in Libra, then also Sarasati is not that bad, because Libra is the exaltation sign of Saturn, okay. Also, if but if moon is afflicted in the natal birth chart, okay, afflicted means affected by its enemies negatively, by Saturn or Rahu, Ketu, then this Sarasati is very painful, extremely painful, because the person has to literally go through tears and difficulties related to his mental side, okay, depending on which dasha he is undergoing, okay. We cannot generalize, because there are people who have done extremely good during their Sarasati period also. But Sarasati generally is painful for most of the people. In my experience, I have seen even in my life when Saraswati is going on now, because my moon is placed in the sign of Sagittarius, and there are certain difficulties which I am inevitably facing because of that. But what to do? That's a part of my karma which I have to face, which I have to endure. Yes. So, Saraswati we have discussed. We will discuss about it in detail. What is transit of Saturn and what happens when Saturn transits over Moon and Sun and other planets. Okay. So basically, what Saraswati is in one line, if you want to summarize, Saraswati means balancing of our emotions. Okay. So mostly people are imbalanced in their emotional area. Have you seen? People are very moody, unpredictable generally. But when Saraswati comes, then Saturn is telling, my dear sir, you have to balance your mind, which means stabilizing your mind, which means making decisions which will cause some pain. Okay, but it is very good for the person. Otherwise, the person does not grow. That is why Saturn is very important. Okay, and people who have Saturn traits very prominent, well, you will see them there jumping, dancing, laughing, and giggling during Sadasati, and nothing has happened. Because Saturn is well placed in their chart, Moon is well placed. That means they are already stable emotionally, so they don't have to make any hard choices. Maybe they can find some difficulties here and there. Okay, so that's it from my side. Sarasati and transit of Saturn, and 30 years Saturn needs to travel the whole zodiac belt once, because 12 into 2.5 is roughly 30, 28 years. And there is something called as Saturn return also. That means in transit, when Saturn comes directly over the Saturn's placement in the original birth chart, which happens roughly during the age of 27, 28, 29, 30. That is why they say that life begins after 30, because when Saturn has transited all the houses in the birth chart, maybe this is alien language to you, which I am saying now, that Saturn has transited all the houses in the birth chart. What does it mean? I will explain it later, but I am saying as of now, when Saturn has gone through every house in your horoscope in your 30 years, then you understand what reality is, who you are, what should you be doing in life. Okay, what are your limits? Saturn is also the significator of limits. Okay, it will tell you, if you have been thinking, I will do computer science and I will also do medical science simultaneously, Saturn will tell you, my dear sir, look, this is not going to happen. You cannot do two things simultaneously. This is your limitation. You have to either choose computer science, or you have to choose business, or you have to choose MBBS, or you have to take up law, whatever, depending on your preference. But you have to do something. You cannot do everything. Yes, that's not possible. Sometimes people want that we will open a restaurant, we will invest money in real estate, we will also do this, we will do that, and then when Saturn comes over their natal Saturn or Sarasati starts, bang on, everything is finished. And at the end you will see them telling, yeah, I realize I can't do so much, maybe let me do this much only. Okay, so that's it from my side, and as usual, if you have not subscribed yet to my channel, then please subscribe for such beautiful videos. And if you have any questions, queries and comments, then please let me know, and click in the notifications button to get updates about the videos which I keep uploading every day. Okay, until next time, bye bye, see you.